It's on Zoom. Sorry, I don't know. I haven't heard.
Ari's not on there. Chris isn't on Zoom yet.
She's Chris ain't on yet. Okay, let's let's do a, yeah, give us a flag, go ahead and pledge allegiance first.
Sorry, it's not that's not.
So I know that's the word. Okay, let's see.
The tallest one up there.
That tallest one be good. I don't know what his name is.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Which stands
One
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
God, indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's see if it's something really quick.
Well, anything you going to close? I don't really have any issues. All right. I'd like to turn it over to the chief and let him kind of introduce our audience, because I pretty much all know him, I guess. He knows them.
Yeah, and if you're okay with it, what I'd like to do is before I get started, can everybody on Zoom hear me, Roger?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. Mike?
Yep.
All right, perfect. I wanted to start off with the KPIs really quick before we introduce the new captains, if that's okay. I just wanted them here for the KPI so they can kind of see how some of these meetings go. So if it's okay, Roger and Jim, I'd like to start with that instead of the introductions.
Okay with me.
Okay, perfect. So I don't have them printed up on the list. I'm just going to let you know we're pretty much on track for January and February, our slowest months of the year. And then this next season, at least traditionally, the weather starts getting better and the recreation starts getting busier. So, but with the snow, how deep we are still, we're probably not going to have an increase till maybe April or May or so. So, but we're on track for hitting just about 520 plus calls this year again. Most of the calls are happening in Colville and then Wanship and then Echo Canyon and up Chalk Creek. Those are the bulk of the calls. So kind of in that same area that we've seen over the last 10, 11 months. 84% of those are medicals. So that was about 25 calls in February. 85% of those, so roughly about 20 of those are medicals. We did have some structure fire that we assisted Park City on. And then we had some utility problems and some fire alarms. We actually had some alarms because the weather was so cold, pipes were freezing. So the high school actually had a pipe burst. So we helped them go stop that water and figure it out. I just wanted to update you with training. So, well, let me start here. The last few hirings that we've done besides these captains, we were able to get a couple of new firefighters and sign them up for a fire academy in Morgan. They're going to put one on starting in May. We're going to have 3 to 4 firefighters in that academy. So these last few that were not certified will be certified before the summer's end, which is great news. Our AEMT engine that we've been running since we became an AMT agency has been doing really good. Our times are still coming down. It's working. So all the decisions that the board has been making have been a positive influence on the community. We've been able to put a structure fire in Hennifer out in 5 or 10 minutes because we actually happen to be right there. Since our main office is out of Hennifer, so I was able to get there within 5 minutes, and we put a kind of a small fire out within about 10 minutes. So that worked really good. A lot of calls coming in Park City lately. We were actually able to send a ladder truck full of 4 firefighters to assist on the new park building in Park City on a roof fire. And then they're actually on one now. And when I say it's working, what I mean by that is our AMT engine, we don't have an ambulance on this side because today there was an avalanche up Weaver Canyon that they have 2 ambulances on, and Park City's getting slammed with a structure fire. So our AMT engine covered this entire side this whole afternoon. So
Hey, Ben, I'm going to interrupt for a second. Tyler, will you please let Ari in?
oh, I thought I just did. Sorry. Thanks, Roger. We'll just wait for Ari to show up. He can hear you. I just gotta let me know the panelist.
Roger, I'm here as well.
I see you, Chris.
Hi, Chris. So what we're doing is really good work. I did also want to cover, we met with our medical director today out of Park City Hospital, Dr. Smith, and he's very happy with what we're doing. Again, he's happy to see the positivity, the community being supportive, and all the medical changes working really well. We talked a little bit about a paramedic service, and he's in support of that. We just haven't created it yet. We need a little bit of time to work on that, but he's very supportive of that and excited to push on to make it better with what we have. And then also, since we have roughly about 4 to 5 firefighters on per day until we get fully staffed, my office got moved, just so everybody knows, on the ACB to Hennifer. So Tyler and I work out of Hennifer now, and we're gonna stand up one shift right around April 1st. And so all 3 stations will be staffed. We also, oh, excuse me, my voice cracked like I'm a 12-year-old. Sorry. I did want to let everybody know, especially Ari and the capital committee, we did spend some money, and he knew about this, and Mike. We bought some housing supplies, bedroom or beds and such for lawn shift. So those have been purchased, and we're just waiting to receive still some of those, but some of those are in. And Ari, I'll get you the costs on those. We're just working on those with Tyler and the receipts. So let's see. And I think that's all I had for updates. I did want to let you know we're kind of prepping for training. I have one of our new captains working on a swift water training because we're predicting a lot of water emergency this season. And so we just finished an ice rescue class in Echo Reservoir, which worked out really good, and we had some good participation. And then we're working on a swift water class. And we have some classes coming from Dr. Smith. So our training is really coming up and starting to be a strong program also. So we're excited about that. That's the only updates I have though.
Hey, Ben, can you hear me?
I sure can. Go ahead, Mike.
You mentioned the dorm equipment and stuff. So yeah, I think myself or / Ari were requesting the total monies to be spent. That's what you're working on, right?
Yeah, those receipts, we'll compile them and give you both a report.
Yeah, it won't be I mean,
It's pretty minor.
we have to decide where we're going to take the money from. It's not a classic capitalization thing, but I don't know where we put the money. So as soon as you get the numbers, we can maybe address it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good idea. We have a couple more things to buy, so we can hit you up this week. And when you're back in town, and then Ari, when you're back from vacation, we'll hit you both up.
Yeah, okay, good.
Awesome.
Chief, you had mentioned that the county might be picking that up. Is that no longer the case?
No, thank you for reminding me on that. Actually, the county, our new county manager, Shane, he was able to pick up the dormitory dividers for the EMS crews, which
Right.
cost right around $7,000, and he picked up a big chunk of that. And
Okay.
that's very appreciative of him, very supportive on that end. So we're excited to hear that. Thanks for the reminder on that. And then I think that's all I have for updates. Do you have any other questions? Okay. If you're okay with it, Jim, I'll just start with the introductions.
Yep. There.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm just gonna read what I have written. You guys have probably already read it, but I'm super excited, so I can't hold my excitement anymore. I'm excited to introduce our newly hired fire captains who will be joining our team at North Summit Fire District. These individuals bring a wealth of experience and knowledge to our organization, and we are fortunate to have them. Please join me in welcoming Captain Nicholas Jarvis, Dallas Davies, Andy Lutz, and Tyler Rouser on our team. So I'm confident that they'll uphold our vision and mission in providing the highest quality emergency service to our community. So let's start with Captain Rouser, if I may. You would stand. I know I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, but I just wanted to share a little bit about Tyler. He has worked as a shift manager for Columbia Sports Wear and assistant cook with Summit County. As many people know, he was the go-to person for a lot of different activities in the county, and people always reached out to him for help. Tyler's worked as a senior staff accountant at Westgate Resort and a procurement and contract manager at the Housing Authority of Salt Lake City. In addition, Tyler has served the city as a councilman for Colville City and also as a firefighter and board clerk, as you all know, for the North Summit Fire District. He is certified in record management, emergency medical responder, CPR, first firefighter 2, hazmat operations, and he's an instructor through the Utah Department of Archives and Records. The Utah Bureau of EMS, he's also certified with, and the Utah Rescue Fire Academy. Tyler's a detail-oriented and proficient in many Windows and Microsoft programs that have been a huge asset to us this last 10, 11 months, and it will be in the future. And he has excellent verbal and written communication skills and is able to manage a very high stress, as we've all seen in the last 10 months. So I just want to say thank you to Tyler, and we expect a lot from him. So thank you for accepting the job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you. Next is Captain Andy Lutz. If you may, I don't know if you can get in front of the screen or how that would work, but hey.
I know I have a large head.
Maybe come right here.
Quite on.
Yeah, this is Dawn.
All right.
Perfect.
you go.
All right. So Captain Lutz is a highly respected member of the Utah Fire Service community for over 20 years and has been full-time and part-time. He's described as a dynamic, driven, and eager to demonstrate safety, mentorship, and leadership in an official capacity to help drive the success of all the fire and EMS teams that he's been a part of over the last 20 years. Andy was working as an engineer, AEMT, and full-time firefighter EMT engineer with Weaver Fire District. We were lucky enough to steal him from there. He's been there since 2007. He is also part-time firefighter and acting captain with Clinton City Fire Department since November of 2022, or 2002 rather. And he is a fire inspector and at Farmington Fire Department since 2017. So we are excited to have Andy, and we thank him for, responding to the call. So appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Awesome. The next one, the tallest of all of them, Captain Dallas Davies. Dallas, you may not fit in the screen.
I get Captain Davies on my basketball team, first game.
Yeah, we definitely can start our own team now. But Captain Davies is an experienced emergency service professional dedicated to helping his community. Dallas has pursued in higher education in Emergency Services Administration for UVU since 2021. He's earned his advanced OT certificate from Weaver County Sheriff's Office in 2016. He's completed an emergency services program at the DATC from 2013 to 2015. Dallas has served in many different roles in the fire service, including an engineer for Clinton City Fire Department, a senior firefighter for North Summit Fire District. Dallas has been with us for quite a few months now. He also served as a deputy fire chief and fire captain for Washington Terrace Fire Department, where he assisted in writing policy, performing fire inspections, and ensuring safe and positive work environments for the department. Dallas currently left his position as an engineer as he oversaw daily operations with his crew, ensured safety and operating heavy apparatus, and assisted his captain in any day-to-day activities and tasks. So we're excited to have Dallas, and actually his family's here, so we welcome them too to the family. Thank you for coming.
Limited time off work, gotta spend the time we can, guys.
Well, great. Thank you for coming, Dallas. We're excited to have you.
Welcome aboard, guys.
And last but not least, Captain Jarvis, Nicholas Jarvis. And if you saw him, he's probably our shortest one. No, I'm.
You just have to throw that in there.
Well, Captain Jarvis is an experienced healthcare and emergency services professional with a passion for helping others. Nick has spent over 14 plus years with Clinton City Fire Department, also as a firefighter paramedic, where he gained valuable experience in structural fire suppression, providing advanced life support, and operating fire engines and aerial apparatus. He has also worked as a senior paramedic for Roy City Fire Department and is an invasive cardiology registered nurse at Ogden Regional Medical Center. In addition to his work experience, Nick has pursued higher education at Weaver State University, where he's earned his bachelor's in nursing, as well as an Associate's of Science in Nursing and an Associate's of Applied Science in Emergency Care and Rescue. He holds several certifications, including his state certified paramedic, his advanced trauma life support, and Fire 1, Fire 2, amongst many others. Nick has accepted a position as an operations captain with North Summit Fire District and is enrolled. He's also currently enrolled and just kind of finishing up his Chamberlain University master's degree program as a family nurse practitioner. Is that correct? Right on. His extensive experience in education make him a highly qualified captain, and we're excited to have him and what he's going to bring for this department. So he's going to take us into the future for many, many things in EMS. We're super excited to have him. So thank you, Captain Jarvis.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Glad you're here, Captain Jarvis.
We kind of have matching haircuts. Other than that, and the floor is open to you guys if you have any questions or if you have any comments to these guys.
I just wonder if Clinton's still standing.
They're not happy. I can tell you
They're
that.
not super happy with me right now, but they're just still there. They'll do fine.
One group's lost, another group's gained. Well, it works in this world.
You know, go ahead.
Do all of you gentlemen have a fairly short commute into our district from, I assume you still live in Weaver, Davis County or somewhere over that way? Morgan County?
Yeah, we all live in Weaver and Davis County, about 35, 40 minutes for all of us.
So not too bad. Similar to the chief.
Yeah.
With the way we're staffed, and one of us will be up here 24/7, so it's just that constant leadership.
Yeah, we're excited because I have to drive that daily. They get to drive that once a week. It's not too bad.
That's great. Well, congratulations and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
They're our first captains for the fire district that are full-time ever, just like me as the first full-time chief. So it's kind of a monumental timing and experience for everybody. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. Great. I think we're good. You guys want to sit around?
Big thank you to the families for coming out too. That's really nice to see you guys here.
And for you guys to come. Thank you. Do I need a hug? Do I get a hug? I haven't seen you guys forever. Are you? Good. Well, good.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for.
And Liz, I want to see you guys around.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you have a bad day, you don't want to see us or.
See you guys. Thanks, Kevin.
Oh, there's the family. I couldn't see them.
Yeah, you see around. That's all.
They're all big guys, chief.
Yeah, firemen are built different.
Are they in martial arts with you?
No, they don't do martial arts. Dallas is a giraffe. I like to call him our baby giraffe because he's so tall. He doesn't play basketball very good.
Turnouts are gonna be more expensive.
You have to basically have a clown clown tent to outfit Dallas. Yeah, it takes a lot of special money to outfit that guy in turnouts.
But, okay, Ben, we're down to consider induction of the new fire captains. Be a discussion and possible of discussing recommendations of county council. What's the impact fee? We need, that's what we need here.
Yeah, okay. So that's where we're at. We're on 6B. So discussion on
6B, yeah.
Eloise. It's a little too low. So Jim, are you saying you want to turn the time over to Susie?
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for it to pop up there. Tyler's on that, he said, look, she's on now. Here's her slate.
Great, thank you. Thanks for letting us be a part of this. I'm wondering, Tyler, do you have our PowerPoint that I can walk through, or would you rather I walk through the report? PowerPoint might be a little easier. If not, I can share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. I don't think I loaded it in here. Or maybe I did.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, you're right on it. Okay. All right, let's just go down through it really quickly, and I won't take much of your time.
Wait a minute, I just want to know if that's the famous Susie Becker.
How are you, Chris? How are you?
Thank you.
It's good to kind of see your name up there. I can't see you, but anyways, hope you guys are doing okay.
The chair wanted
Um,
to make sure I had dinner.
So, I think everyone knows what's an impact fee, but I just want to stress here without going through in detail, it's only capital costs. There's no operations and maintenance costs. One-time fees charged with new development to offset capital costs, and for fire, we're specifically told it can be the fire facility, the building, and then vehicles, but only those that cost in excess of $500,000 can be included. And you have to have 2 documents by law. We'll go down and see them on the next one. We have an impact fee facilities plan. This is more the engineering technical type of document, which just is telling you what facilities you have, what your service level is, and what other facilities you need. And then the next, a couple more slides here. Let's go down a couple more. The impact fee. Yeah, there's impact fee facility plan, impact fee analysis, and it's the financial document. And it takes these costs and it just proportionately shares them. Considers things like how it's financed, interest, any of that kind of stuff as well. So let's look at yours specifically. That's just a little bit of background. And if you want to read more, it's in the section of the code 11-36A. So there was a lot of discussion about growth. And so finally, what I took it from, and this is what the chief sent over, was the Summit County Economic Development Department. I wouldn't be overly concerned if the growth is wrong, because you're thinking, the first reaction is to think, well, we're not going to collect enough fees if we understate our growth, but that's not the case. We are measuring this fee off your current service level, where you're at. And so everybody has to pay it. So depending when they come in is when they pay it. So we should be okay. But most attorneys I've worked with, and I'm not going to speak for Summit County or for Ryan, but most of them have said, we got to source it to something. And if we can source it back to the county, then it's pretty defensible. Most places are seeing their growth slowing down. You may not, you could be an anomaly, but a lot of clients have really been concerned about their growth slowing, especially those that have building permit revenues, some of the cities that are rapidly growing and they're falling off a cliff. So these are the numbers that we are using for now. So given these numbers, going to the next slide, we have got the fire calls that were provided. They're divided into residential, non-residential. Okay, then we can count all of the residential, non-residential. We can count traffic calls that originate within the district, and we allocate them to residential and non-residential based on their proportion of calls, but we can't count for impact fee purposes mutual aid calls, because the community as a whole has to pay for those. New development shouldn't have to pay for that. And then there you will have, of your traffic calls, will likely be a small portion that are passing through the district to go elsewhere. And so everybody has to pay for those as well. So let's go on to the next one. There's our total calls, projections of calls. So we're going to go down. What you do when you do a fire impact fee, you go down 2 roads and then you marry the 2 numbers. So we're going to find out how many calls per unit we have. And we're also going to find out what is the cost per call, and then we multiply them together. So in terms of this cost per call, you don't have a lot of level of service, a lot of investment currently. And that's why your fee is lower than, I heard there was concerns about Park City, and I can go into that in a little more detail. I looked at the numbers today. And theirs is older fee a little bit, because Del Barney has just sent over to me new numbers to do, but I haven't got going on them yet. But anyways, their old fee, they had about $10 million in cost, and you're buying on your existing building. The only cost we could find on that was $835,000, and then the new construction is really, it's important, but it's not hugely significant. So those are the costs we have out there. So if we go down to the next slide, I can show you the impact fee calculations. And so there we go. We have existing facilities, which was the 800 and some thousand. You just saw the new ones, consultant costs, credits for some benefits. So some of this new construction is going to benefit existing development. And so we had to credit new development so they didn't pay twice for the part that benefits existing. Okay. And the total cost per call is $1,800. In Park City's last study, their total cost per call is $4,700. So that was some of the difference. So if you go to the next slide, then we're going to multiply that cost per call times the number of calls per unit. And your calls per unit are pretty similar. So on residential, you have 0.1028. In other words, you call someone calls you once every 10 years. The calls per unit for Park City was about the same. It was 0.114, which is pretty close to 0.1028. Not a lot of difference there. And you also have, you have quite a high service level in the sense of the number of square feet you have per call in your existing facilities, but the value of it and the investment of it was extremely low. And that's what makes your fee so much lower than Park City's. Okay, you go down again and you can see the fee there. And then we just did we just showed the cost per call. The maximum fee, you have a little bit that credit going down a little bit per year. So you can either you can put one ordinance in there, just have them approve it, that it changes here every year, just, a little bit, but you don't have to go back and do this every year, or we can just average, which I think is probably the best approach, to average the first 5 years or so and say, yeah, you got a fee there of about, what is it, $195 averaged. So if you go down one more slide, there's just the summary. So that's it. That's how we calculated your impact fee. Do you have any questions?
Could you go back to that slide right there?
Yeah.
So you're saying that the right-hand column, maximum non-residential fee is that?
That's the commercial that they pay per
That's
square foot.
per square foot.
Yeah, should
And
explain that. Yep.
but by saying maximum, does that mean that we can impose the maximum, or we could impose something less, or what exactly does that mean?
Exactly. You just said it exactly right. So with impact fees, we calculate what the maximum fee, what the cost is. And it kind of shows you your limit, but you can enact it less than that. Some attorneys don't like that because they feel like, well, if you enact it to less than that, you'll bring down your service level. Maybe you'll pay for it through other means, but then it probably puts more of a burden on existing development. But we word it that way just because that's what it is. That's the maximum you can do.
Right, and so, I mean, I don't know why I would want to go less than the maximum. They're so darn cheap to start with. But the 188.76 for this year, that would be the fee regardless of size of a residential structure.
Yes, so if you wanted to vary it by size, you would have to be able to analyze the number of calls that you have based on size. You'd have to be able to have some distinguishing factor. And we do not have that level of detail in the information. But yes, that you could do that. You're right, on size if you're getting more calls from larger units.
I don't think we have that level of information. We probably want to keep it simple, but just by comparison, did you have off the tip of your tongue the maximum residential fee in the Park City Fire District and the maximum non-residential fee per square foot?
I can look that up here. I think that it wasn't it, Chief, we looked 500 and something you said for the residential?
Yeah, I looked
unit?
on some permits that Mike Owen sent me, and it was about $540 per residential permit that was pulled. I don't know, Chris, what the maximum non-residential fee was though.
That's okay. I mean, it's moot. They have a lot bigger capital cost in existing facilities. So, if you can't exceed what you've got. So.
Yeah, and that was actually my question to Susie, as I was concerned there was such a drastic difference there, but it makes sense because they have so many more buildings and capital costs.
Yeah, and the value of your building, your actual one, the existing building is extremely low. So not gold plated at all. Maybe some in Park City are a bit more, but yours is really quite low.
More like platinum.
Or kind of like lead. Yeah, good point, they are, so there you go, tin and vinyl.
Ryan and Susie, I mean, is this report to the point that it's finalized, or is this more preliminary? Is there, can we go to town with this?
I'll let Susie jump in first.
Well, that's my understanding. That's what I tried to, you have the draft documents, you have both documents. You should review them if you're comfortable with them. I mean, some of the data comes from you folks in terms of the number of calls of service and the cost of the existing buildings, and assuming that we have got all the right information. Sometimes people will look at these and go, oh, we forgot to include the land cost with the building, but we've talked about that. We have everything in here, I think. You know, is there anything we've forgotten? We did add in the traffic costs, or traffic calls as well, which gets our number of calls per unit up a little bit. But sometimes people will look at them and think of something else. Oh, we have that storage shed though, you know, that's building. We've got another 100 square feet there. You know, they'll pick up a few things like that, but it's not going to make yours change drastically, but you do have everything you need to move forward if
Thank
you're comfortable with the numbers.
Well, my personal opinion is we should get comfortable with it and adopt it as soon as possible so that we can start collecting it.
Hey, Susie, is the escalation in the cost per call year over year, is that just an inflationary adjustment?
No,
or-
I shouldn't explain that. I'm really glad you asked that. It is not an inflationary adjustment, but what happens is, so because the new facility, the new remodeling, the dorms that you're putting in, they're actually going to benefit existing development as well as new development. And so we're going to charge new development the entire impact fee. But then in theory, impact fees should pay for all of new development's fair share, maybe not at the right time, but over time they will. But then who's going to pay for that share of these expanded dormitories and that are going to benefit existing development? Well, everybody is, existing and new. So there's a little bit of a double payment there on new development. So what we do is we take like a 10-year period and we say, okay, there's it's about $200,000. Let's credit that every year, divide it by all the calls. And so we make a credit for new development, but that credit goes down every year because if I'm pulling my building permit this year, I might, you know, the next 10 years, I might be, you know, paying a little higher property tax or whatever to pay for that new or existing development share. But if I come in 5 years down the road, you've already paid for a lot of that. You've, you know, collected that and been paying for it. So you would have less credit. So it's the fact that the credit goes down. So in actuality, the gross fee stays the same, but the credit goes down a little bit over time.
Right, thank you.
I can show you, if that's not clear, I'll show you in the numbers and you can see it in a spreadsheet, but that's always confusing to people. But I do think you should, and I would check with Ryan. Ryan Stack on this, your attorney, but I think yours are so, your first 5 years, the maximum fee is so similar. I would just average those for ease of collection. I don't think you'd have any problems with that, but that's, you know, he would decide that as your attorney.
So assuming we can find a way to pay for it, if we built a $5 million new station, how would that affect this analysis?
So your problem is your existing service level. And you can't charge a new development to pay for this big station for you because that you're raising the level of service on the back of new development. And so you got to get your service level up and then keep charging impact fees to keep it up. Get a grant and build one, or have to get it from a grant that you can't use it. Somehow, yeah, get your service level up there a little and your fees will go up.
So Susie, same question. What if we waited to impose the impact fees, built the new building, and then put them into place? The service level cost would go up at that point, right?
They would. If you bonded, we'd likely have some credits for the bond that's outstanding so that they don't, you know, pay twice.
Right.
But in theory, their impact fee should pay for their portion of the bond. But then the portion of the building benefiting existing development, if you're raising that service level, there's a portion that's benefiting existing. You have to credit for that portion of the bond.
Susie, this is Ryan. The credit you're referencing, that the offset we saw early on in your math on some of those first slides.
You know, I don't know if I showed it in here, but we did see a little bit of it. Let's just scroll down through those slides again, just for a minute, guys.
I just think it might be helpful to pull that back up.
Yeah, let's just look and see to make sure everyone understands that.
It operates like an offset from the impact fee at the time it's assessed, correct?
Yes, exactly. It was, remember the TSSD lawsuit years ago, Ryan, where their complaint was, and this was a utility fund, it's a little different, you know, but that there were a lot of the new projects that were benefiting existing development, making up deficiencies, you could even call it. And so rates in theory would go up over time in order to pay for the portion of the new construction that wasn't being covered by impact fees. So in that case, new development was paying twice. So this is the same logic here, just to keep you out of trouble. I've credited that.
What was the name of the prior dispute? You said TSSD?
Yeah, it was years ago. It was just a big one, and I wasn't involved at
Was that
the
Pimpernel?
it's Timpanogah Special Service, yes, Cemetery Sewer District, yeah.
I don't remember.
Sewer district, but it was a big one, and I wasn't involved at the time, but I have been involved a lot with them redoing those. A few years ago, they had Jody Hoffman at every meeting, you know, for legal advice. The engineers, the board, and we're very careful about it in all of the credits. And so I learned a lot from listening to them about what the concerns had been, how they'd come at it. So.
So this, sorry to beat the dead horse, but this 183 number is per resident, just per physical building. So if there
That's
are
the
20
cost
new-
per call. That's not per residence. That 1836 is the cost per call. And then you have to multiply the cost per call times the number of calls per unit. There's another slide that shows that when we multiply it.
When I look at the maximum residential fee, the 188.76 for 2023, I think Chris said before, if I'm building a 12,000 square foot house or a 1,500 square foot house, I pay a one-time fee of 188.76.
For your fair share of fire facilities. That's not for any ongoing operations and maintenance.
Right?
And it's only because look at the level of service you now have. That's why it's so low.
So just projecting it out in terms of how this impact fee will affect the budget. I don't know if there are projections in here in terms of population growth. They seem pretty lockstep at about 20 units per year. I think we'll see a lot more than that, but at 20 units per year, we're looking at less than $40,000, less than that maybe. I didn't carry the one, or I did carry the one.
Yeah, well, and you're only paying for about 10, new development is only paying for about 10% of the new facilities. So that's why it's so low. And what's your new facility cost? It was only what, $230,000.
So that's $3,700 a year from impact fees.
Yeah, that's why it's so low.
So these two. What was that? Excuse me a minute, what was that facility you said was $200,000?
I will tell you, let me just, if I can reduce this and open up my screen, I'll tell you the exact amount. The cost of new construction that we were given is $232,000, $232,331.
Is that the dorm build out?
Yeah, the Colville dorm addition, 100,000, Hennifer and Wanship were 60,000 each. And then based on the construction year expense, I added on a little bit of inflation to the cost.
Because we haven't talked about adding anything else. If you want to add a new building, we need to throw that cost.
Okay, yeah, we got, we're clarification now would help everybody ahead trying to. We're trying to figure out who's gonna build a building for $200,000. That's just a little bit here.
And on the light side.
So here's another one of your problems. I mean, your Colville station, these were built a long time ago. You've got 9,000 square feet, and yet the cost of this is I'm showing on your books at 320,000. That is really low cost per square foot.
There was
The only record we were able to even find on that, because there was no documentation, is we actually looked up a Colville newspaper that had the price of it in there. Isn't that correct? That was the only way that we were able to actually research and find that number. And I think a lot of it was volunteer work and the community kind of helping out. So I think you're right, it was super low at the time even.
So it's cost at the time, not present value.
Correct. That's what they asked for.
Yeah, so,
All their
so
facilities, all their stations, or just the Colville one?
no, I can tell you the other ones, and Utah law, you have to use actual cost for existing facilities. Now, for a new one we're gonna build, we can use the cost of it today, but communities can't be in the business supposedly of making money. The ombudsman's office actually issued a legal advisory opinion on this years and years and years ago, and you have to use actual cost if it's already in place. Hennifer Station, 3,450 square feet at 143,500. The Wanship Station was in 1995 at 3,600 square feet for 371,896, and that includes land. We've got the land broken out, so we do have it all in. It's just incredibly low if you look at it on a basis.
Suzie, did you, and Ryan, I'm not sure how this would work, but did you add the warehouse from Tollgate?
Is that a fire facility? It's not one that we were given.
I would not feel comfortable adding that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I wouldn't be 100% comfortable adding that. We don't have the background on who actually owns it.
Well, we have background, but we'll say it's murky at best.
Yes.
So I would not feel comfortable relying on that in these calculations. And whatever risk it would be to rely on, it certainly isn't worth whatever nominal value it's gonna have. It's
Right.
not worth it.
So could I ask another question, please? When I look at the existing buildings and then that 230,000, 32,000 for new construction, and I read both your slide presentation and the staff report where it says that you can also include fire equipment greater in cost than $500,000. Could you explain why $500,000, and could we also discuss whether we intend to buy any fire equipment that might qualify in our capital facilities plan?
If you buy it in the next 6 years, we can include it, but you can only charge it to commercial on the fire vehicle portion.
Oh,
Utah law states that, and Utah law picked 500,000. It's right in the code.
okay. Well, I don't know that we have $500,000 for any apparatus. I was just, and if it's not going to help the residential impact fee any,
No, Ella can do it on non-residential.
and I have no way of guessing, but I don't think the non-residential is going to be a huge growth category in the next 6 years. It might be.
So, I would bet on it.
Is non-residential also hotel, common area for things like pro shops and facilities like that, or is it only commercial?
No, it's non-residential, churches, schools, and yeah, building square feet, not land square feet.
Okay, so that's anything that's not residential. How about barns? Farm
Well,
buildings?
I guess you could if someone built a barn. No one's ever asked me that before.
We have a lot of them in our county.
Yeah. Is the barn part of a residential development? Like a separate garage? You could have a separate garage. Is the barn? Is it, I don't know if you would count that separately or if someone had challenged you. Ryan, that's for you. That's not my question. I'll let Ryan handle that.
So, and I'm sorry, Suzie, I was looking something up at the moment. Can you run that by me one more time?
So I think
Well, all
my-
right.
I think my,
You asked it, yeah.
yeah, I think my question, Ryan, is if, you know, if somebody's got a farm, an operating farm, and they've got things like, you know, facilities for, you know, chickens or hogs or minks or a barn for an equestrian facility, or let's even say like Blue Sky, if that, I think that's kind of that's easy. If something like that goes up, is that a non-residential impact fee? Would that be associated with that sort of building?
It would be if they were building it anew after we've inaugurated it.
That's what I would think. But I mean, like a barn on my property, that's different, right? Or is it? Except we're talking about accessory buildings then.
That would be existing.
No,
If we
but
were-
if he
If
would
we're building a new one.
Oh,
after,
if you are pulling a permit, and you're building, well, I think there's actually, I mean, that's where it starts to get thorny, because I believe ADUs are now exempt from impact fees.
Yeah, and what if someone were to put a garage on their property? Garage in a barn, I'm not comfortable charging that, I wouldn't think, but Ryan, it's up to you. I think that's a tricky issue, but hopefully it wouldn't come up much.
Because the barn doesn't need inspection unless it's got electrical power.
They still have to pull a permit, which means work for me.
Well, it ultimately comes to what's going to increase the level of service in your community.
Good point. Unless they're like an arena where they'll have like congregation and stuff like that.
And that would be a new commercial space.
There's that. Almost be Croydon.
Oh, that's, I know that's a private.
But they have people coming in to do horses all the time.
I don't know what, I don't.
Yeah, it's not defined as commercial, it's defined as non-residential.
That's true. I had that conversation with Jody Hoffman one day and I said, isn't it just commercial? She goes, no, Susie, I wrote it. It's non-residential. So Ryan, check it out, but that's what I was told.
That's right.
if it were non-residential, then you could separate off the portion of an ADU that's not the ADU. And charge it on that square footage, couldn't you?
That's why you have Ryan.
What if they try to do like an ag building, but they have the top ag part, they have residential?
It's gonna be evaluated. I mean, if you have kind of unclearly defined uses coming in like that, it's gonna be on a case-by-case determination.
And Richard Butts would want to determine.
Well, along with folks in planning who know what's happening.
Yeah, they usually refer to buildings.
Yeah. It would be building and planning, but and they are gonna come to us. It's gonna be a case-by-case determination. Unfortunately, as we know, you see a lot of unique projects come up. And so it's not very, it's not practical to come up with a one-size-fits-all approach with the variety of things that you see. So it's gonna be a case-by-case determination, at least in what we're talking about, which thankfully, given the overall growth projections, will not be the majority of new construction. We're talking about a fraction of cases, thankfully, but as those come up, it'll be a case-by-case determination.
Okay, thank you.
So board, my thoughts to you are a couple here. One, you have the impact fee facilities plan before you. Your consultant has told you that everything on her end is done as far as the facilities plan is concerned. Susie, is that fair to say?
Yes.
So what that means is, assuming you believe, or that all of the inputs going into this product were correct and complete, then Susie's work is done. And if there's no changes or edits to the inputs, you captured everything. Then what you have for tonight is notice for possible action, and you could vote to make a recommendation to the county council as your governing body to hold a public hearing and then possibly approve this impact fee facilities plan. And those steps are,
Got it?
as required by.
10 minutes.
I know Susie has also sent over an impact fee analysis, but you can't do those at the same time. That will have to come back to the board once and if the council has adopted the impact fee facilities plan. But that, if depending on the board's direction where you want to go, those would be your next steps. And then there would be a public hearing before the council. And as I understand, Tyler's already worked to get a date lined up. He says that would be April 5th.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to make a motion to approve this plan and recommend it to the county council.
Chris made a motion. I don't know, Roger, you taking it or you want me to take it? What?
You go ahead, Jim. You're in control
Okay.
today.
Okay, Chris made the motion to approve the plan. Got a second? Got a second by Dawn.
Sorry, discussion on the motion, just to clarify,
Yeah.
to approve the plan and forward a positive recommendation to the county council and set a public hearing. Is that
Every,
That's-
part of it?
everything Ryan said.
That's exactly what I said. Verbatim.
Okay, Dawn got a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Go ahead, Dawn, roll call.
Louise Willoughby, aye.
Roger Armstrong, aye.
Arianides, aye.
Chris
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Oh, Chris Robinson, aye.
Jim, you got to vote.
Yep, I think we got it.
I heard Jim, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
Jim, aye, yeah. Okay,
Thanks for your work, Susie.
thank you, excellent job. Guys have it, so.
Thank you. Thanks for letting us work with you. Appreciate you guys. Good to see you all.
Likewise.
Take care. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, that's number two, C, the backside.
Yeah.
Discussion and possible approval of image trend software contract. Dan and Ari got this one, wherever you're at, Ari.
Ari, do you want me to kick this one off or would you like to?
Well, I just want to say that Ben's done a lot of research on this. I kicked it back to him and he's given, I think if you read through this, excellent background on this. He also looked through some other options. I am now 100% happy with the direction he's going. And I want to appreciate Ben for going back and doing some extra work.
Thanks, Ari. Just to kind of fill everybody, because I feel like you and I spoke about it a lot. The findings we had is that image trend in general, and I'm going to kind of just summarize the executive summary, but we feel that they're going to fit us best with all the products that they provide. They provide the fire marshal side of things. They provide the building inspection side of things, the EMS, everything that we need. It fits us better than the other products that are out there. The other main competitor that Ari brought to our attention last time was ESO. And what we found is ESO just recently purchased ERS, which was a program that was a competitor at the time, but not really. And they also bought out Firehouse. So I do see them as being a very good competitor in the future, but they're not quite there yet. So, you know, in the future, if we have to switch softwares or anything, I think we look back into them a little bit. But the other products, for example, Spillman, Zoll, and Tyler Technologies, they said that really they can't match the breadth that Image Trend can give us. So we're pretty excited, and I'd like to recommend in the district's behalf that we adopt Image Trend as our software that we're going to use for maintenance and EMS reporting and fire reporting.
So, Chief, I might understand that our first year cost would be $21,275 and thereafter annually $14,750.
Correct. That initial year covers all the setup fees and costs that go with it, and then it goes down to that annual fee that you have in front of you there on the screen. And just so you know, they're the only ones on state contract. If we chose any others also, we would have to go out to RFP. So
I make a motion that we approve this image trend contract that will, which is on the state list, doesn't require a procurement, further procurement processes, and that for all the reasons the chief has stated and has stated in the staff report.
Okay, we got a motion by Chris. We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by Louise. We need a roll call on this one, or just a vote?
For a contract, you can just do it.
Just a vote, okay? Do we have a vote? Don? Louise?
Aye.
Ari?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
And I myself, Jim, so that's unanimous. Done deal.
Nice report, chief. It was very well done. Easy to read.
It was suggested I get those out to you more often. So now that we have some help and I'm not running ragged, we have captains on board that'll help out, and we'll get these to you more often so it's more clear.
Yeah, makes our job easier. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next item on the agenda is D. 6B, discussion of types of fire engines and what would work best for our area, update of inspection of engines. Ben and Ari on that also. Let Ben take the lead and can.
Actually, I'm gonna let Ari take the lead on this one if that's okay.
Okay, it's going to Ari.
So what, thank you guys, and thanks for providing this information. I think what happened, you know, some of us are sort of new to the whole fire apparatus thing. And as I was talking to Ben and we reviewed the status of one of our fire trucks, it just was clear that I think a primer on types of fire trucks with the ISO ratings and what typical apparatus are used for rural and fire station that would be responding to calls that occur on a highway. What is a typical, what does those apparatus look like? So what I did is I just put together a sort of a quick primer that I think we could read with some pictures that just talks about types of fire trucks. And we can go through them individually if you like, but I think what might help is if in each station, if the chief would go through and say, okay, what have we got? How many of each we have? And then what's nice is if we just kind of hang on to this and refer to it whenever we talk about apparatus. So later in the agenda, we're going to talk about each truck and what's wrong with it and what needs to be repaired with the analysis. I think it helps for us to go back and look at this. And down at the bottom of this document, you'll also find just a quick review of benefits for getting new versus used. I know the folks who were here last time talked about purchasing new fire trucks. And if you can go to sort of just looking at typical apparatus found in rural fire departments, we can take a look and see, a tanker truck, and we've got several of those. A couple of them are pretty old. The brush trucks, which we have a lot of, this is something that is sort of like built on a pickup truck, and they're used to a lot of times do wildfires or quick put outs along the highway. The tender truck, which is a much larger tanker truck. I don't know if we have any of those, Chief. Do we have any full-on tender trucks?
Yeah, we have 4 water tenders of various sizes. I think we have 2 or 3 of them that are 2,000 and 2 of them that are possibly 4,000.
Right. So a tanker truck, typically the smaller tender trucks are a whole different size, and those typically go to 2,000 to 4,000. The larger ones are typically $500,000. They're large. And then the wildland firefighting trucks, those are a little bit bigger. And that's similar to what we were talking about last time, the more compact fire truck that would be used. So you can see pictures that are in there. And then we have, of course, I think we have 3 engine trucks. Isn't that right, Chief?
Yeah, 4, including the one that broke down, but not
Right.
including that. Correct. We have a ladder truck and then 2 engines. And that one on the top of the screen, as you can see, there's probably more like a type 3 or a type 4.
Right.
That is what we really need in the fire district. As you can see, that middle picture and then the bottom picture, our roads and road services don't accommodate like they do get down in the valley. So those type 3s and type 4s would actually fit our district quite a bit better than actually what we have today.
Right, and then each one of these comes in different sizes. We don't have an aerial ladder truck, we have a regular ladder truck, but those wildland firefighting trucks are it's really a good size versus the big heavy duty engine trucks. And we don't have any heavy rescue trucks, and I also don't think we have a hazmat unit either, do we?
We have a heavy, but it's a light heavy. There's 3 different types. And it's not outfitted with the correct equipment, never has been, from what I understand. So we can outfit it with the right equipment. We would have a heavy rescue. And that's in the Colville station. We'd like to run that out of Hennifer if possible, but if we're only staffing the 2, it'd probably be best out of Colville for I-80. And then we do have a hazmat trailer, but we'd like to actually transition that into a special operations trailer, which will cover all the specialties or all of the special disciplines rather. So that would cover ropes, water, hazmat, everything, trench rescue. And that's what we'd like to have, but it's just a trailer.
Right. So what the chief has done is he's done a really good job compiling the list of all the existing equipment we have in each station. What we're going to do, and I'm still waiting on, is to get a list of where kind of what his wish list is, where he wants to be. And then anytime we make a move, we can transition from one to the other. The other thing is we've got a lot of equipment that needs to be, sold off. We've just got surplus. And one of the things I'd like to put on your radar, this isn't for today's discussion, is maybe moving when we sell those capital needs, that actually goes back into the capital budget. Right now, we're a couple of years away from being dry on the capital budget, and there's nothing in the budget right now, in the operations budget, to start replenishing that. But that's all I have on this.
So are we now going to go over each of those reports on the pictures of all the deferred maintenance? And if we are, has anybody summarized those on a spreadsheet so we can see kind of the big picture? Do we have to?
Well, let's take a half step back. I mean, of the equipment that we have, the trucks that you've got in each of these categories, are the categories pretty well balanced for what you need right now? Or you said we have many brush trucks. Can we trade out 2 brush trucks for something else that you need more of? How's your balance?
Sales of multiple brush trucks probably won't come into much of a play because of the age and the status that those brush trucks are in. We'll get some revenues from those, but what Ari would like to see is that would go back into capital, and then we'd have to figure out a game plan of what apparatus we'll choose, like you said about my wish list, so to speak. I do think in our current status, if we can limp along some of these apparatus that are a little bit older, we're going to be okay for the next few years. But we need to start probably working on these slowly. As you can see in my executive summary there, we got these on Tuesday pretty late, and I haven't had time to review them. And so I don't really have a recommendation for you tonight. I just need a little bit more time to kind of analyze what's wrong with these. If you wanted to take these each apparatus at a time, we can. I do think that would be pretty time consuming. And we might be able to leave that for next month's meeting. But if you guys feel like we need to have a special meeting, that would be a consideration also.
And Roger, I would be glad to step forward and work with the chief on putting together a spreadsheet that prioritizes which of this maintenance needs to be done and to identify which of the trucks need to be going. Because like he said, we've got 3 of these engine trucks that are currently running, 4, but with the one with the blown out engine that we looked at our last meeting. And I think we need to really make some decisions about whether or not we need those full on, large engine trucks, and whether or not we can consolidate it down, because we're talking about having 2 stations really operational with this apparatus. And if there's an opportunity for us to, consolidate down and get him his wish list, I think that's something we should look at and then weigh whether or not that maintenance should we prioritize for all these engines or whether or not we should put off some of them? Yeah, we need to have a backup for each one too, I think.
And Ari, I volunteered to help you, so point me in the right direction. I can work with Chief on updating the existing inventory, and then we can overlay, the wish list on top of that. That's useful for the next meeting.
Yeah, there's a real good inventory right now with sort of a maintenance estimate. This throws all that out the window. So I think what we need to do is take that and then reapply this and look at it again fresh.
Now, if I may jump in just for a second.
Go ahead.
You have a representative to review these if we need to from Siddons Martin tonight, if you have any questions for him. I just wanted to point out one of the tenders out of Wanship that they did analyze, they recommended that we absolutely do not drive. It's too much of a safety hazard and concern. So we have taken that water tender completely out of service and nobody will be touching that one.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question, Chief. This reads like a disaster, but I think that I was adding stuff up as I was reading it. And I think there's $120,000 worth of repairs here. But my concern was for the safety of the firefighters are you okay with the firefighters driving these vehicles?
I am to a point, something like that one that they recommended, water tender 23 out of Wanship that you guys have in front of you. That one they highly recommended nobody touches. So that one I don't feel comfortable with. The other ones they can get to, but I need to look into this a little bit more before I make a decision on how I feel, to be honest with you. And I'd like to sit down with Ari on that.
Yeah, I think you need to take a good look at this stuff. I mean, they all have like fluid problems, overdue oil, bad brakes. I mean, we got to be careful which ones we use, huh? And
Yeah, I think what Chief really wants to talk about is, with 2 operational stations, we don't have to prioritize getting all of these fixed, right? Like right now, but we do need, some of them they all need pretty much some attention. But I think like he said, he just got the thing in Tuesday. I looked at it briefly. We haven't had a chance to really go.
Chief, I think you need a little roll up the sleeves workshop. I mean, there's a lot of data here, a lot to digest, and I'll come in if Ari wants to come in and just
I think a
deep dive into these reports.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think a key player in this is going to be Siddons Martin, Dennis, right?
Yes, sir.
He's going to help us develop. Obviously, they've offered anything that we need. I think he can help us determine, because I'm not much of a mechanic, right? So he's going to help us determine, along with Ari and maybe Mike, to what we can do with these apparatus or how long we can live them around.
Well,
Yeah.
what I think ought to happen is that we ought to take this information and meld it into your existing inventory, but then show in a table, a tabular fashion in Excel or something that would show the unit and the other details about it, and then the problems that were discovered in the inspection, and then the proposed cost, and then a recommendation as to whether this is throwing good money after bad or not. Even if we fixed every one of these, and if it was at Mike's number that was 120,000 or Jim's, I forget who said it.
I did, yeah.
But, we can't even touch interest on one of these things for 120,000. I mean, I think I'm exaggerating. That'd be an annual payment maybe if we spread one over 5 years. I think since we're only operating 2 stations, we should be able to use triage to fix the best of these and get by to a brighter day when we can then start looking, and maybe we can, they're probably, I don't know if this is true with Park City, but there are probably some hand-me-downs that have been better maintained than perhaps our inventory, and some auctions and things. And we could, if we were out on the market, I don't think we're going to be able to afford any new apparatus for a very long time. And there's just so much hitting all at once, from capital facilities to staffing up to the apparatus, the turnouts, the Scoobies, whatever they're called. We don't you know, we just can't do it all at once, but this equipment, if it has the preventative maintenance and fix the leaks and the, you know, and they'll probably find some more things. You dig into something and you inevitably, you know, this is not a quote, this is an estimate kind of thing, and you're gonna find more, but it's still the best thing we could do to make do with what we have.
I'd like to make a motion for Louise to take over the purchase of some new Scoobies.
On it.
What are those things called, Roger? I forget.
Your SCBA's,
SCBA's.
Scoobies. I
And I
like
would- this is Dennis with Siddons Barton. I would actually have some recommendations on one or even two of these that I would not fix. And one of those that I would not put the money in actually is the one that's got the highest bill. That one, if you could get by without it and let it go, I wouldn't put any more money into that truck.
Yeah, so I would say I'll sit down with Dennis this next week and we'll sit down and kind of put a game plan together. Cause I agree, some of these trucks we can't even sell for probably 10 grand. And if we're gonna dump 30 into it, it just doesn't make sense.
Dennis, you're thinking it's the O2 Freightliner,
Yeah,
$35,000 price tag.
if I had to make a recommendation on two that you would consider not repairing, it might be that O2 Freightliner and the 98 American LaFrance. Just based on what they need and the value of the truck and what it's gonna give you out of service life. And the additional problems we can expect to see once we start diving into that truck.
That's about
That's almost half of it.
35, and the other one, which one?
Yeah, so, you know, so again, it's, you know, just based on what they need. I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense and it doesn't make any financial sense for you and it doesn't add to crew safety or anything else to try and go after those, so.
Throwing
I
that
think,
money after bad.
yeah, absolutely. I think you'd be better served with the couple others that you've got. We can do more there. I know that one's a 95 with the brakes. That one gets questionable, but I think it needs less things ultimately. Just based on its condition. So while it is a little older than some of the other ones, it's in a little better condition. Yeah, sure. The brakes are. Yeah.
You know, just so the board knows, there are some other options out there. I know there's a Quantum motor sitting on their Siddons Martin lot that's under 100,000. I mean, some of these things, I know Syracuse Fire just put a Quint up for sale, ladder truck first and get at 100,000. And that bid will probably go up. It's a pretty nice truck, but yeah, we can't afford new stuff and I'm not recommending that at all. I think we can probably try and limp around what we have because we have such a large fleet that we don't need. We can really whittle this down and get that cost down quite a bit, I think.
So if we pick the three that's pretty salvageable, we're about $52,000 to put three of them back in fairly substantial.
Get started on it. Yes, sir.
Get started on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely the two, the $35,000 one, the $27,000 one, they're just ready for scrap. That's what their life is.
Well, and just Dennis, I'm sure Dennis wants me to point this out. But the work they did was just that initial kind of overlook, right? Once they start digging into it more, that's what, to Chris's point, gonna probably get a little bit bigger.
And you'll see on the bottom of the estimates, I did put a repair contingency fee on there. And that's just something that we have assessed to get through the repairs that we know are already there. Once we take those things apart, there's gonna be some ancillary stuff that's damaged, some bolts or seized, some gaskets we didn't anticipate, things like that. That's just to cover the repairs that are on there that we can't necessarily see or anticipate ahead of time. That doesn't do anything for further down the road.
Well, we're getting rid of $60,000 right off the bat.
Yeah.
For sure.
So for us tonight, you're basically gonna go back and fine tune the plan
Correct.
and then bring that to us for approval for next month, and that's what the goal is, or?
I think so. Ari, are you in town this month quite a bit?
Yeah, I'm back starting Saturday. But and what I also want to do is overlay this with, if we're not going to invest in these trucks, we do need to sell them. They need to go. Someone else might need them for parts, or they may need them for scrap, but they need to go, and we need to turn those into cash now rather than later, because they're just if we're not going to invest in them, they're going to continue to depreciate and fall apart. And there's no reason we should be storing them and having them and keeping them on the books. So I would advocate for that quickly. And then even if we have a truck that we can invest, you know, $20,000 or $30,000 in, if that's not exactly what chief wants and we can get one for 100,000, that's something that's a discussion we need to have as a board. So I think that, you know, for us to talk about this, you know, I don't think we're outfitted properly. The stuff's not in great shape. It's just a really good time for us to make a plan. And even if we iterate on the plan and work on it, you know, a little bit at a time, I think that makes the most sense. We've got all the information now. We just didn't get it quite early enough to make a firm decision tonight.
Yeah, and that's on us. That some of these were a little difficult to track down some of the parts for. It took a little more time than anticipated. I'd also like to offer, if you guys do go after or start looking at used trucks, I am more than willing to send a technician. I've done this in the past, to send a technician to look at that truck before you purchase it.
Oh yeah.
You know, because right now, a couple days before we sent your estimates, I sent another department an estimate. They got a ladder truck at a smoking deal. However, it's absolutely out of service and requires about $130,000 to repair for a 23-year-old truck. My recommendation to them is take the loss, get rid of the truck. Do not pay me this money because it's not worth it. And I don't want to let you end up in those circumstances. So we're more than happy to arrange going to look at it. Doesn't matter where it is. You guys can help me out. I'll put a tech on a plane and send it. It's fine. So.
Thanks very much, Dennis. That's helpful.
You're welcome, sir.
Another thing we ought to look at is when we try to get rid of them, the auction yards charge about 10% to sell something. So, no matter what you get, they're pretty good at that. They make good money at that. They charge 10% sell, they charge the buyer 10% when he buys it. So they're pulling 20% swing off everything they sell. So we'll probably put some sort of I don't know if there's paper, just put it, if you're going them up for sale, just put them on as the fire department selling these trucks as is where it is.
Yeah,
And just
and that's what we've done in the past. In this last 10 months, we've surplused, I can't remember, was it 10 pieces of apparatus? Maybe 5, maybe it was 5. I doubled that. But I would like to get these off our books before the end of summer, to be honest with you. I think that's best practice, just so that we're not worrying this next winter on buying batteries again for them, and because they've sat for so long, or anything else that would go wrong with it. So if you're good with it, I'd like to bring you some surplus items next month also.
That sounds good to me.
And once again, I'm going to advocate that those surplus items right now, I think the revenue from the sale of those surplus items is going into the general fund. And I would, you know, advocate strongly that those get returned to capital.
Yeah, I
Yep.
agree.
Okay, anybody else? Beat the broken trucks down now. We've got them even worse shape than they were when they started. Okay, then the update on the P25 radio system.
Oh yeah, we can pull that up.
Okay, Mike, you get a lot smaller here real quick. Get a little box up in the corner now. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Just wanted to show that. All right, let's go through them now. I don't have it down. Oh, you don't? Well, what I wanted to share with you guys is just some good news after the bad news, to end on a good note. The P25 was that program where we agreed to spend a bunch of money on communications, the end of this last year. We had estimated that it was gonna cost the district right around $80,000 that you guys approved roughly. We've got good news that the state came back and actually allocated more money to help out with all the radio changeovers and everything in the state of Utah. And so our portion of it that we're gonna have to pay out is significantly about $20,000 to $30,000 less. So we're looking at probably around 50 or 60,000 instead of the full 80. So we're pretty excited about that. I just wanted you guys to be aware of it. So we are saving costs wherever we can. I think there was, and then we also did receive
monies for the $3,000 for,
Radios are about back.
yeah, but we received the 3,000 for it. Yeah, so we did receive money back on some radios that was spent back in 2020. We received on a grant $3,000 to help with those expenses also, so. Those will go back into whatever you guys want, whether that be capital or operations.
Hey, Ben, do you have the new radios in hand?
No, we won't get those. We actually have to spend half of it up front, and we won't get those till the end of this year. And that's how the program is rolling out in the state of Utah for everyone.
Based on that news, if I haven't told you lately, I love you. I love you, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. Love you too. But yeah, that's all I had on the P25.
Well,
No, I know, but it's something,
I
right?
give you a line. Beat it up. Okay. Okay, Mike, you're up. You get full screen again now, I guess. Treasury report G.
I think that was Tyler gonna go through the spreadsheets first? Or,
Oh,
Yeah, I think he's up first, right?
yeah, I think Tyler was gonna do a quick review of the year end, the spreadsheets that are there.
Okay, go ahead, Tyler.
So this is just the quarter four of 2022 expenditures and revenues. It's unaudited still, so at the end of the year, we'll have an audit, so this could adjust a little bit based on the auditor's journal entries and that recategorizing or whatever. This is where we are positioned as of the end of the year, where we ended up with actual expenses versus the budget.
Are you saying that we came under budget on revenue by 283,000? $284,000?
That's what's left in the 2022 budget.
That, well, no, this is, are these budgeted revenues or the actual revenues were what?
The actual revenues were 686,000.
We budgeted 970
For the whole year or through December?
for the year.
YTD.
Right.
So we came up short 284,000 roughly. Okay, let's see the expense side. What are the column headings again?
From left to right, it's the current month, then year to date, and then budget, and then the difference and the percentage difference.
Mhm.
Wow.
So, hold on one second. Going back to that top sheet. The big change is property taxes. Is that just a delayed collections issue?
It was, yeah, the county treasurer had an issue with their system in December. And so we didn't actually get our final December collections until the very end of February, 1st of March, can't remember which one it was, so.
So it's a shortfall on the books, but it's coming into the.
Actually, Roger, the taxes were in excess of the books of the budget by 76,000.
Oh, that's true. You're right.
The collections were greater than what was budgeted.
Where's the 235 coming from?
Well, it's those other things. It's 125. Oh, let's see. Well, 125 of it is unbudgeted monies that we collected from the county.
And that is coming through the end of the year, you know, that wasn't collected till January.
Okay.
Of 2020.
Well, that's why it was budgeted, but it's uncollected. So that accounts for almost half of it. The rest of it
And
is,
this one here, the remaining in PTIF, that's a budget, but that was just what was in the account to balance the budget.
So sorry, I'm not an accountant and spreadsheets elude me. But the 76,000 on that property tax is showing as a shortfall, I think.
Parentheses mean bad, I think.
Negative.
Yeah, that's what I thought, bad.
In this case, for revenue, it's positive
It's
short.
a positive. Yeah, this is a good thing.
It's an over.
If you
It's a negative number, but it's a good thing because it's in
Okay,
revenue.
all right.
In revenue, right? You collected more revenue than you expected to.
I gotta go to business school.
And that's all compressed into just the first 6 months of the fiscal year, right? So, we've already matched what we projected to receive, but that's, I think, how the taxes
Oh,
are delivered anyway.
We're on a calendar year, Ari.
Oh,
So
okay.
This is a 12/31 fiscal year.
So this is the end of the fiscal year.
Correct.
This is end of December news.
All right, gotcha. My mistake.
So then let's look at the expenses again and so we spent 886,000 and we collected the 600 and whatever that says. Go back to the other number. It did not include the 125,000 from the county. So we had a little bit of a shortfall we had to take from the PTIF.
Yeah, the money really came because the county transfer for the 125,000 didn't happen till 2023. So we really took that money out of the PTIF.
That's how.
And then you were able to replenish it.
Right, and if you looked at the January data, you'll see the 125,000 coming in because we got the check from you in January.
On, you're a number guy. You got anything?
This is almost three months water under the bridge, so this is old news.
Ryan, what do we do with this?
And our 120%.
Yeah, and I mean, it was super gracious of and we didn't receive this bill, January 2023, the gracious of trying to help us out with that Park City endeavor at the end of the year, so we would have been a lot worse off. So, but we were
So
able to.
this is an information item only. We're not taking action on this. Is that correct?
It's just information, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's keep it rolling.
Okay, Mike, your turn.
Okay, now I'm up. I'll get through this pretty quick. I got a fair amount of Matt Levitt's time this past month. He's a great asset to us and obviously to Summit County. He helped me put the finishing touches on the draft of the finance policy, which incorporates a whole bunch of statutory documents. It's actually a really good policy. So it's in draft form. I shoved it over to Chief the other day. He can look through it. And my plan is to get it to Ryan and then get it to the Finance Committee this next month and then bring it back to the board here in next month or two. The thing that showed up at the very end is we made this finance policy based on our bylaws for the ACB, which has Tyler Rouser as a clerk. So when we put the final touches to this, we're going to have to make some changes of what the clerk's duties are and now what the new administrative captain's duties are. But we'll just get through that. It might mean we'll have to change our bylaws or something. But so that's a work in progress. While I was doing that, I found us some money. Thanks again to Matt. If you remember last month, I said, well, we made a mistake. We did an audit last year that we didn't need to do. So we spent $16,000 we didn't need to do.
I thought that was a very expensive audit. I went on record at that time. You remember?
Yes, it was quite expensive, but if you remember, the guy chucked and dodged and said, well, I've got to do everything for you as I got to do for everybody else. Anyway, Matt reminded me, he said, this year we're auditing 2022. And in 2022, we were still under $1 million. So good news, we don't need to do an audit. So we're going to save $16,000. So all we need to do is a large financial summary. And if it's okay with you, Chief, I think if I can get Tyler to go over and work with Matt and find out what we really need to do, what a large financial summary entails. And we can talk more about it at the next meeting. But the good news is we can save $16,000 and go buy some repairs for some trucks with that. The other thing we accomplished this month, Chief asked me to take a quick look at the cash flow as it relates to the intergovernment loan. So I did some calculations and came up with a number of $170,000. I ran that by Matt. Matt says that's a good number. Let's use that for now. So we're going to use $170,000 as our intergovernment transfer amount for the next few months, and then we'll take another look at it. Tyler, I think just today got the paperwork to transfer the first 170,000, and I don't know if the county treasurer answered your email yet, Tyler, or not, but that should get transferred to us, intergovernment loan, in the next few weeks.
Is there a cash forecast report we can look at, or is there a?
There's Mike Novak's cash flow calculation that comes up to 170,000 being a reasonable number. So it's not a very sophisticated thing. I mean, we can argue about it, but that's kind of the right number. What we were more concerned about, Matt's looked at the PTIF reports we were getting, and they were showing an interest of like 2-point-something%. And he went, wait a minute. And he looked at the tax records from the state tax department, and we should be getting 4.2%. Well, so I dialed up a guy named Alan Rollo of the tax department and talked to him. And what it came out to be is if we run the reports exactly on a calendar month, and Tyler did that for me like last week, it does show that we get 4.2%. So, and the county treasurer is going to charge us 4.2%. So there's a little to try to save interest here, but right now we're using a number of $170,000.
That what's that 170? That's our interest.
That's the amount of, so my rationale is we got $400 and something thousand in the PTIF fund. We should let it sit there and drawing interest and start taking a loan. Our cash flows, if you look at our budget divided by 12, is $167,000 a month. So I said, let's make it 170,000.
Okay, I get it.
Drawing some money down. So it's the first loan from Kerry.
Yeah. Okay.
First piece, the first bite.
From Corey.
Pardon?
From Corey Forsling.
Corey, I keep saying, I'm sorry. I think that is it. I talked about the dorm equipment. We need to look at that. Chief, you might, Matt tells me he is starting a series of accounting training classes. Some he said you may not want to go to, but I'll try to get him to get you the list, or you can ask him. There might be some that you and Tyler want to go. Did you already have it?
Yep, we're already signed up.
Okay, yeah, great, because I figured he's a great asset, and sitting with him for an hour or so in training would be great.
And I have a meeting with him on Monday, so we're gonna sit down for a good chunk of the morning and hash out a few things too, so it'll be good.
Okay. That's all, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Okay, down to H, chief report.
All right, skip that, we did that.
Okay, got that one, got it the other way. Okay, now we're to review and possible approval of accounts payable. Tyler, that's you.
This is the February accounts payable for the day.
Can you scroll down a little further, please, Tyler?
And it goes on to another page too.
The $25,000 there for the turnouts, and I had to ask Tyler this, that was the last payment of what you guys approved for turnouts last year.
Uh-huh. Well, this seems to be rational to me. I'd make a motion, we approve.
Chris made the motion. He approved the accounts payable. Dawn seconded it. Roll call, Brian, or just this vote? Dave, got a vote, Dawn? Aye. Louise? Aye. Chris?
Aye.
Ari?
Aye.
Roger?
Hi,
Myself? Jim? Aye.
Mike, I.
Well, Mike, sorry, Mike, I didn't see your face up there again. Okay, unanimous, okay. Next item on the agenda, review and possible approval of the minutes, January 12th and February 9th. I was not here on the 12th. Roger was, Chris wasn't, Ari, so we got enough. Brian, what would be the most, best way to do this is just,
You have at least 4 people here who are tonight, who are here on the 12th.
Roger, Mike, Louise, and Dawn.
I'm gonna make one correction to both of them. It's the same correction. Item 6 should say, consent agenda instead of work session. So I'm just gonna change that.
It has changed.
Line 35, board is BOARD.
So what was it? Sorry.
BOARD.
Line 35.
Line 37. Oh, yep.
I make that nice.
Tyler was using the traditional German spelling.
Board.
I got a lot.
Or I was bored by it.
Hey, Ryler, on that, Tyler, excuse me, on that same line 35, you got me, and I wasn't here on the 12th, there's no thing.
Yeah, no, you weren't.
Says board member, where Louise just corrected, on the board, mentioned Jim Reach, vice chair, board member Donaldson, seconded the motion. A little,
I don't know why I had that. It's a little rude with that.
it was got as changed. I wasn't here, so I didn't know.
You were in the cigarette.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, as usual.
All right, thanks.
Okay, now Ryan, anyone can, I can still ask for a motion. Okay, if I get a motion to approve the minutes for January 12th.
I'll make that motion as amended.
I'll second it.
Okay, Roger made the motion, Louise seconded it. All in favor?
Well, question on the motion. I can't recall whether that was, whether I was absent or not. I looked at the minutes.
On
So it'd be
12,
Roger, Mike, Louise, and Don were the ones that
I was
were.
excused.
It says
Okay,
you were absent, Chris.
thank you. I'll,
yeah, you didn't even make the list, Chris, so that definitely happened that day.
I'm on the list. It's excused. Or accused. I can't, it might be accused instead of excused.
Yeah, you're that, yeah, so we still got the 4 that, we got 4 that can vote, so I guess that'll be good, we got Roger, Mike, Louise, and Dawn, and that was the 4. I'm excused, Chris excused, and Ari excused. So that carries. Forum.
So maybe you want to roll call just the people who were there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's do that one as a roll call. Go ahead. Don, aye.
Louise Willoughby, aye.
Roger Armstrong, aye.
Mike Novak, I.
Okay, Jim Reese was absent.
Chris Robinson absent.
Ari Eddings absent.
Okay. That's better.
Those will be treated as abstains for the formal vote.
Yes.
All right, that's got that one under the. Okay, now we'll move to the February 9th minute. We've got Roger was excused and Dawn was excused. Anybody have any, quorum was present, anybody have any changes there that change the mind.
Can make a motion to approve the minutes of February 9th.
I'll second.
Okay, we got Mike made a motion. We've got to Chris, he's been kind of left out of the blue one.
Yes, please.
Chris seconded. Let's do a roll call vote because we have some absentees. Jim Reese, aye.
Mike Novak, aye.
Chris Robinson, I.
Louise Willoughby, aye.
REI Needy's eye.
Don was
Also abstain.
thing. Okay, so we have a 5 members, 5 ayes, 2 abstain. All right, I think the part we always wait for, you
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Didn't take you too long.
Who got the second? Somebody, Don
Don's got
got the second without, he
There it is.
didn't even verbalize it, he just raised his hand in the air and. Okay,
Thanks, you guys.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody. Take
everybody.
care.
Good night.
Bye.
Drive safe.
Yep.
In your yard.
Everywhere. There we go.
Sorry.
We were out.